They'd met at a charity dinner like the one he had just escaped. Her beauty was undeniable, but it had been her intelligence that intrigued him, and the fact that she hadn't known who he was when they both reached for the same canapé, her long, slim fingers brushing against his. Or so he'd believed until tonight. They'd played a little game where neither introduced themselves, deliberately hiding in a corner of the balcony outside the party room. The attraction was electric. He had bribed a waiter to bring a table and their dinner outside to keep the bubble from bursting too soon. Only at the end of the night had they exchanged names and phone numbers. Tonight, one of her friends had overindulged with champagne and described how carefully Teresa had engineered the meeting, right down to the subtly sexy shade of nail polish she'd chosen for that moment when their fingers touched. The friend had treated it as a joke, now that Teresa and Nathan were a couple, but Teresa had sensed his disgust. She'd drawn him out onto the terrace behind the ballroom and wound her arms around his neck. "Melissa's exaggerating," she said. "I was kidding around with her about meeting you." "You claimed you didn't know my name," he said. "Because I was afraid you'd think I was just another woman throwing herself at you," Teresa said. "Does it matter how we met? We love each other now." She stretched up on her toes to touch her lips to his. He put his hands on her waist to set her away from him. "You might have told me yourself." "I was embarrassed." A shadow of concern crossed her face. "You do love me, don't you?" "The first words you said to me were a lie," he said, wondering how many more were. He released her. "You can take the rolls home." She'd made a small sound of distress, but he was already halfway to the exit leading out to the anonymity of the New York City streets. Too many people said only what they thought he wanted to hear these days. He didn't need his lover doing the same thing. She could have told him about the ruse of their meeting, and he would have laughed about it. But she'd kept it a secret. Now he wondered whether she'd been after his money or his influence. His glass was empty, and he poured himself another one. The scotch was beginning to seep into his brain. "At this hour of the night, I'm betting it's a woman." Nathan looked up to see who the man at the bar was talking to. "I know what his problem is." The barfly tilted his head toward the blonde man in the corner. "He threw an interception with 5 seconds to go against the Patriots." The alcohol had lubricated the connections in Nathan's brain, so with that hint, he could identify the broad-shouldered drinker as Luke Archer, longtime quarterback for the New York Empire. You couldn't go anywhere in New York City without seeing his face on a billboard. Archer ignored both of them. The barstool occupant took another swig of his bourbon and brought his gaze back to Nathan. "So am I right?" "I don't see that it's any of your business," Nathan said. The other man laughed. "Everything's my business. I'm a writer." Nathan scowled. The last thing he needed was to appear as an item in some gossip column. He relaxed when he remembered this was the Bellwether Club, where the dress code was laid back but confidentiality was strictly enforced. A lot of high-level business deals got done within the thick walls of the club's tall brownstone. Probably a lot of government deals, too, but he wasn't privy to those. Didn't want to be. "What do you write?" he asked, to turn the conversation back on his overly talkative fellow drinker. The man's posture went tense. "Novels." "You're Gavin Miller." The quarterback spoke, a noticeable Texas twang in his voice. "I read your Julian Best books on planes. When's your next one coming out?" Miller stared down into his glass as he swirled the bourbon around. "My original deadline was 3 months ago." He looked up with a mocking smile. "I missed it. My deadline extension was today. Missed it too. Writer's block." "So, what happens when a writer misses the deadline?" Nathan asked. "The same thing that happens when a quarterback throws a